Hey guys, welcome to another Unity tutorial. Today we're going to talk about how we can use Unity's UI toggle to accept terms and conditions, T's and C's, or anything of that sort that you would want the user to tick in order to move forward in your application. And if they do not tick this toggle, we will throw an error. So this is what it will look like. So I have a basic application, a desktop application. It prompts the user for a name, surname, and age, and it also prompts the user to tick this box. And thereafter, it's going to display the user's name as well as the user's age. So if I put in my name, my surname, and my age, if I click submit without ticking the box, this is what would happen. I would get an error thrown saying please check this box to continue. So when I do check the box and I click submit, you see it says, "Hi Jason Governor, thank you for accepting our T's and C's. Your age is 24. It's nice to meet you." So let's dive right in after the intro. Hey guys, so let's get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to create a canvas, right? So that we can lay all of our UI elements on that. So let's right click in our hierarchy. We're going to go UI, go all the way down to canvas. Okay, we get a nice canvas. Okay, cool. The next thing we want to do is we want to add a background. Okay, so we're going to go right click on canvas because we want it to be a child object of canvas. We're going to go down to UI, we're going to select image. Then we're going to go to the right hand side into your inspector. We're going to click on the rect transform on the square. We're going to hold down shift and alt, and then we're going to select the bottom right tab that stretches out the image throughout the entire canvas, so we get a nice background that covers the entire screen. Then what we want to do is we want to select a color for the background. So I'm just going to stick with the color that I used in the beginning. You can put whatever color you like. Okay, it's a nice blue there. We can rename this to background. Okay, the next thing we want to do is lay out our UI and the prompts for the name, surname, and age. So let's do that by right clicking on canvas, go to UI, and then we're going to be using Text Mesh Pro. And as I said in my previous videos, Text Mesh Pro is just a text that is much more sharper than the standard Unity text. So let's select Text Mesh Pro, let's import that. Import the extras. Probably not going to need it, but let's just import it for this tutorial. Okay, now we're good to go. So the first thing we want to say is enter your name. Then we're just going to extend this out a bit just so that the text fits nicely in. Then we're going to grab the move tool just to get a nice layout. Okay, we're gonna rename this to enter name. We're gonna duplicate this 2 times. So we right click on enter name, duplicate once, do it again. So the second one's going to be enter your surname. So we're gonna just name it as enter surname. And the last one's going to be enter age. So we'll rename that enter age. Okay, so we're going to click on enter surname. We're going to just drag that down a bit. We're going to rename this to enter your surname. We're going to stretch this out a bit just so that it fits. So we're going to go onto the rect tool, stretch that out a bit. Then we're going to go into the enter your name. We're going to select the move tool once again. We're going to move that right down. We're going to rename that to enter your age. Okay, that looks nice. The next thing we need is a input field so that the user can actually input a keyboard value for the name, surname, and age. So we're going to right click on the canvas. We're going to go all the way down to UI, and we're going to be using the Text Mesh Pro input field. Okay, you're going to select that. You're going to just align this with the first one, which is enter your name. Then we're going to use the move, rotate, or scale, so it's all the options in one tool. So we're going to select that, and then we're just going to grab left click in the center and just drag out, so we just scale that up a bit. And then we can also just grab onto this handle and move it out just to get it aligned. And then we can rename this as input name. Then we're going to duplicate this 2 times as well. Okay, the second one will be input surname, and the third one would be input age. Okay, then we're going to select input surname. We're going to drag that down and get it in line with enter your surname. And we're going to select input age. We're going to drag that down, get it in line with input age. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to change the text holder or the placeholder actually in this input field, so that inside here where it's in italics we want it to say enter name. So what we can do is go into your input name on your hierarchy. We're gonna expand this, and where it says placeholder we're gonna click that, and in your inspector we're gonna just change that to enter name and 3 dots. We're gonna do the same for the surname and the age. Okay, so that's just to give the user it's just to be more user friendly, right? Okay, what we want to do is maybe just move all of these a bit higher so that we have enough space on the bottom. So we're going to left click and select all of these and just move that a bit up. Okay, so that takes care of that. The next thing we need is the toggle. So that's the thing that we're going to be clicking like a checkbox. Okay, in this example it's going to be our checkbox actually. So we're going to right click on canvas, we're going to go to UI, we're going to go all the way down to toggle. Right there you see our toggle there. We're going to click and drag onto the center so that we can just scale that up a bit. Okay, that looks about right. We're going to grab this handle, move it to your left just to get it in line. And what we want to do is, remember, we don't want to use the Unity text because can you see how blurry it looks? So we want to change that Unity text to the Text Mesh Pro. So how we do that is we go and expand the toggle in your hierarchy, and we're going to delete this label. Okay, where it says label, we're going to delete that. Okay, so you see the text is gone. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on toggle and we're going to add in our new Text Mesh Pro. We're going to then scale that down a bit so that it fits nicely in there. We're going to move it to your left, and then what we want to do is type in whatever message we want to display to the user, so that telling them that they need to check this box so that they can move forward in our application. So for the purposes of this video, we're just going to say, by accepting this you agree to our terms and conditions. C, T's and C's here. Okay, we'll just say that for now. The next thing we want to do is obviously click on the rect tool so that we can make everything fit nicely. Okay, while we're here, we also maybe want to just drop the font size down a bit. So let's drop it down to about 25. Okay, that looks right. And then we'll just go down to alignment, align it to the center. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so we're done with that. So the next thing we want to do is when we start the application, we want this check or the checkbox to be unticked, right? So how we untick this is we click on toggle, we go into the inspector on the right hand side, and where it says is on, we're going to just untick that box, and you see it disappears from there. Okay, so that's what we want, because we only want the user to tick it to move forward, so we're giving them the choice. Okay, so the next thing we need is a button to actually for the user to click in order to for all of this logic or game logic to happen in the code, and obviously throw an error or proceed with your application. So let's do that. We're going to go in, right click on canvas, go to UI, go all the way down to Text Mesh Pro button. We're going to click the multi-tool, bring that down a bit, click left click in the center and drag out so that we just expand it a bit. Then we're going to expand the button in your hierarchy, and where it says text, we're going to just type in submit. Okay, that looks good. You can rename this submit button. We only have one button in this application, but if you had multiple, it's a good practice to name all your buttons according to what their purpose is. So the next thing we need is the text, so that the values that we get here actually display somewhere. So how we do that is we right click on canvas, go all the way down to UI, we're going to add in a Text Mesh Pro. We're going to drag that down, align it. Now remember, this is going to be a long kind of sentence, so you want to align it to the entire screen. So let's select the rect tool. So we're giving the text enough space to fit into this placeholder so that all of the letters can fit in without going to the next line. And then just for demo purposes, we're going to type hi, and this is the place where we want to insert the user's name and surname. So we'll put a comma there, and then we'll say thank you for accepting our T's and C's. Okay, so that's done. The next thing we want to, while we're here, let's just rename this to username text, and then we just want to duplicate this, so right click, duplicate, and we can just rename this to user age text. Okay, then we can just grab the multi tool, drag that down, then we can go into our inspector and then rename this and say your age is, and then this is the place that we want to actually display the age, so I'll just put that in pointy brackets, and we can say it's nice to meet you. Okay, and maybe this doesn't need to be the entire screen, so let's just grab the rect tool, because more likely the user's age is going to be double digits. So let's move that, kind of get it like centralized. Okay, or if you want, you can go into your inspector and shift alt and do that, and then just bring it up a bit. Okay, that ensures that it's centralized. Okay, so that's all of our UI taken care of. Now let's dive into the code. Okay, so there's one more thing that I forgot to add in here, and that's obviously our empty game object that we're going to add our script onto. So let's do that. Let's right click in our hierarchy. We'll create an empty. We'll make sure to reset its position in the inspector. So where it says transform, or right at the end there's three dots, click on that and click reset. Okay, we're going to rename this to check error controller. So our script is going to be attached to this. So let's go into the inspector. We're going to add a component. We're going to type in script. It says new script. We're going to name the script error check controller. Okay, then we're going to double click onto the script. It's going to open up for me in Visual Studio. It might open up in Mono Develop for you. Okay, so once that is loaded in, let's get started with our scripting. We are going to be scripting in C# because that's what Unity uses. So the first thing we want to do is delete the start function and the update function because we're not going to use that. Okay, and then out of the box I can tell you that we're going to be using Text Mesh Pro, and we're going to be using UI elements. So we want to just add these libraries in. So we're going to say using TM Pro. The next one is using Unity engine.ui. Okay, so now we can access the Text Mesh Pro components by adding that library. So we got to think, okay, we need variables to store our name, our surname, and our age. Okay, and those variables are coming through from this Text Mesh Pro input field, right? So the first thing we need to do is get that variable or that value that the user entered from this input field. Okay, so how we do that is we're going to create public Text Mesh Pro input field variables, one for name, one for surname, and one for age. So let's do that. I'm going to say public tmp underscore input field, and then we're going to create one for name input. We can just call it name input. Then we're going to create one for surname input, and finally we're going to do one for age input. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to store this whatever value we're getting from this. Okay, we want to store it in a private variable because we want to display it later on. So we can store that in a private string. We can say the username and then the user surname. Okay, then we need one more variable to display, and that's the age. Okay, but the age is not going to be a string. The age is going to be a int value. Okay, so we're going to create a private int age variable to store the age value. Alright, so we'll add in some more variables later, but let's just get started with our first function. So what's going to happen, this function is going to be called when our submit button is actually clicked. So we're going to to create a function, we're going to type in public void. We say it's public because we want to get access to it when the button is clicked, right? So that it's available outside of this. So we're going to call it, let's call it check error. So when the button is clicked, we want to call this function called check error. That's going to do all of our checks and display the relevant information. So the first thing we said we want is we want to get this values here. So I want to get name input from the input field, and I want to store it into this username. Okay, So let's do that. So we're going to say username is equal to name input dot text, because the reason I'm doing it this way is that this is already a string, right? In order to get the text element from the input field, we got to go into the element, which is the input field, and then in that element we want to access the text component of it. So that's why I put dot text. Okay, so now this username will be equal to whatever the user inputs into this input field. So let's do the next one. We want to say user surname is equal to surname dot input dot surname underscore input dot text, and then lastly we want to get the value of age. Now the problem with age is that if I just do the same and say age underscore input dot text, it's going to give me a squiggly line, right? Reason being, what I'm doing here is saying that I want to store a text value or a string value into a integer, which doesn't make sense. Okay, so in order for us to actually display this text or string value as an integer, we need to type in something called int 32.parse, and then we put that into brackets. Okay, so this is still squiggly because we need to add in one more library, and that's using system. I think that takes care of that. Yes, it does. Okay, so this is what this does. Okay, so this in this bracket, okay, everything in here is a string. Okay, so int32.parse converts whatever is in this bracket into an integer, and then it stores it into age, which is what we want. Okay, good. So that takes care of that. So we have our variables, and we store them into a private string and a private int, which we can use later on. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to get started now with our toggle, our checkbox, right? So let's get that started. Let's create a public toggle, and we can call it checkbox. And then what we need after that is, remember we said we want to throw out an error. Okay, so we want to create a public text mesh pro UGUI. That's creating a variable of a text mesh pro text, right, which I actually forgot to add in our UI. So let's add that quickly after we just create this. So this is going to be called the error message holder. So let's just go back to our UI, and then we want to add it somewhere around here. Let's just move this button down. So let's go to toggle, or let's go to canvas. We go down to UI, add a new text mesh pro. We're going to left click in the center and scale that down a bit, bring it down in line. You can probably zoom in if you want a clearer view. Then we're going to click the rect tool, stretch that out a bit so that all the letters fit in. Then we're going to type something like okay, for now we're going to just put error message placeholder, but we want to change this text in the code. Okay, but just to see it here now, we're going to type that in, and then we want to probably change the color to something like red. Okay, cool. And then we can rename this to error message holder. Okay, then we can go back into the code. Okay, that takes care of that. then we need a constant message to actually populate this holder, right? So what we can do is create a constant string, call it error message, and we can set that to, so this is the text that's actually going to populate this message here. Whatever we type in the script is going to populate this. Okay, so let's go back. Let's type in, please check this box to continue. Okay, and close that out to the semicolon. Right, now we're going to take care of our actual checking of the box. When the user checks it, if the user checks it, do something. If the user doesn't check it, do something else. Okay, so we're going to start off with the if statement. If you just type in, let me just undo that and show you. If you type in if and you're in Visual Studio and you press tab twice, it will create the entire statement for you, or the structure of the statement for you. So we're going to say if this checkbox here, if this checkbox is on, so that means if this checkbox is ticked, then do something, right? So we're going to say is on, but for this purposes we're going to handle the if the checkbox is not on first. So we're going to say exclamation mark in front. So that means if the checkbox is not on, then do something. And what we're going to do, we want to display that error message. So we're going to say error message holder dot text, because remember the text mesh pro is the element, but we want to access the text element of that holder, if that makes sense. And then we want that to be equal to this constant message here. So we can say equal to message and close that off. Okay, so if it's true, if the checkbox is ticked, let's do something else. And what do we want to do? We want to actually display the user's name and the user's age. Okay, so let's go back into the code. So we need two more text mesh pro holder variables, one for the name and one for the user's age. Okay, so let's go back to the code. So we're going to create that variables now. So we're going to say public text mesh pro UGUI, and we're going to call this let's just call it, let's call it thank you text underscore holder. And the next one's going to be public text mesh pro UGUI. Let's call it age text underscore holder. Okay, we have our two variables, and what we want to do is we want to get access to the text element of that holder, and we want to change it dynamically through the code, right? So remember, we want to only change this part of the sentence. So how we do that is we go into the code, we can access the text thank you holder and the text element of that, and then we can set that to whatever we want to populate that sentence, right? So we're going to say hi, we're going to leave a space, and this is called concatenation, okay, of strings. So for now I'll just follow along, but I'll make a video on how we use concatenation to join strings and sentences together in the future. So we add in, so we put the plus sign, and then whatever's in between this plus sign needs to be a variable or something from here that we want to populate in this. So I want to put the user's name first, okay, which we have stored already in here. So let's do that, or actually in here, this is where we stored it. So I want to just put the username. The next thing I want to do is leave a space, so I do that, put an addition sign again, and then I also want the user surname, so I can say user surname. So that would say like JSON, leave a space, JSON, leave a space, my surname. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is add a comma. So I'll do that. That will add a comma and leave a space after the comma. Then I'm going to put an addition sign because I want to add in another piece of text, which is, oh, we actually can add it in the same. So we're going to say thank you for accepting our T's and C's. Put a full stop, close that off with a semicolon. Let's do the age. So we do the same thing for age. We're going to say age text holder dot text is equal to your age is, we're going to leave a space, addition sign. We want to use this age value in here, so we type in age. Then we want to add in, oh, sorry about that. Then we want to add in a comma, leave a space, and say it's nice to meet you. Full stop, close that off. Okay, and the last thing we want to do is, after everything is done, okay, if I just play this now, this is what we see. We enter my name, surname, my age. Right, as you can see, the message is still placed here, okay, because we didn't take that out, so we need to fix that. The next thing we need to fix is, okay, if I click submit without doing anything, nothing happens. If I do that, nothing happens. And that's because we didn't hook up this controller. We didn't set all of these fields. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing now. The first thing, just to get this out of the way, we want to set this to null, right? So we're going to click onto it. We're going to go into its inspector. For now, there's many ways that we can do this. We can also just turn this entire game object off and only put it on when the error is thrown. But for now, we'll just set it to null, which is no value into the text, right? It's just a placeholder for now. Okay, so that's null. The next thing we want to do is populate our script with all of the game objects that we need to get our script and button running. Okay, so it asks us for the name input, which is this input field. So let's just lock this. So how we do that is we click on check error controller, and in the inspector there's the small lock on the right hand side. Let's click that. So if I click anything else, this still remains. So click on this. Then the first thing we want to do is drag this input field into here. So let's do that. So let's grab input name, let's grab input surname into that, input age into this, then the checkbox toggle, which is this, let's grab the toggle into there, then the error message holder, which is this down here, let's grab that holder into there, then the thank you text, which is this holder down here, let's do that, and then the age holder, which is this, let's drag that in there. And the next thing we need to do is we need to hook this button up in order for it to actually reference the script and reference the function that we actually created. So let's go to the button, let's unlock that, let's click the button, go all the way down where it says on click event. Let's add an on click event. We're going to drag and drop this controller because it has the script attached to it into this object. We're going to drop down, click on this controller, that's our script name, and then in our script name our function is called check error. Okay, so once we click that, the button is hooked up. Let's give that a try. So let's enter our name, enter our surname, age, and let's try clicking submit without checking the button, and there you see it says please check this box to continue. Whoa, our spelling's way off there. We need to fix that as well. But before we do that, let's check the box and then click submit. Wow, okay, there we see everything goes through. Our text on the bottom changes. It says hi. Pick the name up from there, pick the surname up from there, add your reading here, pick the age up, add your reading here. But we don't want to see this error message anymore, so we need to deactivate this error message or set it back to null once everything works out. So let's do that quickly. Let's just fix this spelling error. Save that. The next thing we want to do is set the error message holder dot text. We want to set it back to null when everything works out, right? So if the box is not checked, we want to throw the error, but when the box is checked, we want to change the name. We want to say, hi Jason Govender, thank you for accepting our T's and C's. Your age is 24, it's nice to meet you. But we also want to set this error message to null, to nothing. Okay, so let's try that out now. So we're going to say Jason 24. We're going to click, oh, let's just submit without it. Please check this box to continue. We're going to check the box, and there we go. It displays our name nicely, our age nicely, and it removes the error message. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, I'm going to be doing lots of more interesting videos and tutorials in Unity, C#, and other gaming tutorials. So please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification and enjoy.